Ha 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 ha! Weekly Dartscast, the best darts podcast going. If you guys like your podcasts and you like your darts, then make sure you listen to the Weekly Dartscast. They're the purists podcast. If you listen to Alex and Burton, they talk about everything. They talk to the pros, they talk to the pros on the tour, the old BDO, they talk to management, they talk to darts manufacturers, proper interesting stuff, so give them a listen.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Weekly Dartscast, sponsored by Dartwolf. I'm Alex Moss and alongside me is the darts statistician, Burton DeWitt. How are you doing?
I'm doing just fine. Enjoying a nice, hottest ever week in the history of, history. How are you, Alex?
Glad to hear it. A bit further away than I am. It's been pretty much raining and a little bit of sunshine in there as well. But doing well, thank you. And there's not long to go now before one of my favourite tournaments, and I know many of our listeners' favourite tournaments of the year, the World Matchplay. I can almost taste it, almost touch it now that I've moved to Bolton. The Winter Garden's not far away at all from me. And over the next hour or so, we're going to be bringing you our preview of the biggest darts tournament of the summer. We've got two guests calling in. We've got the 5-time world champion, Raymond van Barneveld. He's back in Blackpool for the first time in 5 years. I think he's back on this podcast for the first time in 5 years. We'll let you decide what's the bigger achievement. Plus, the Sky Sports pundit and commentator, another former world champion, Mark Webster, is going to be joining us. Great to have Mark back on the show. But let's get straight into it. The World Matchplay almost here. When this episode drops, just 2 days away. We've got the world's top 16. The next top 16 players on the Pro Tour over the last 12 months are going to be competing for that Phil Taylor Trophy. And 19 of those 32 players, a quick head count, have won a PDC major in the past. A few more have won majors in other codes and other big titles. So is this the strongest Blackpool lineup ever?
It seems like we ask this almost every year, and almost every year I say the answer is yes. I think there was a backstep for a couple of years in 2020, 2021 because of the pandemic and it just messing up the qualification schedule. I mean, there was other than one Euro Tour event right before lockdown, that or no other Euro Tours in the lead up to the 2021. And then in 2021, both of the Euro Tours were in the back end of the year. So you had a weird situation where players had qualified through the Pro Tour almost exclusively based on their floor performances, not based on how they had done in those mini majors of the European Tour. Although we'll come on later to the show about the various tiers of majors, not to give away what we'll be talking about later. But, for those 2 years, because the qualification system was a bit out of whack due to the pandemic, due to the cancellation or postponement of almost all of the European Tour events, I think the fields for those years, I'm not going to say they were weaker, but they were less prepared for the World Matchplay. And there were some players that had the ability to sneak in that might not have snuck in had there been the full complement of 13 Euro Tours, or at least like this year, 10 before the cutoff date, although still some from the end of last year are on the Pro Tour Order of Merit for this year still. So that obviously was a couple years where the quality of the field might not have been as high, although obviously the World Matchplay behind closed doors ended up being a pretty good tournament nonetheless. But now we are back in the full swing of things, and we've had a full normal qualification year for this. We're almost back to what the cutoff was in 2019. I think 2019 was a little over 40,000. This year was a little under 40,000. I think that, though, is mostly because it's harder to win as much money because there are so many players who are playing so well. Just getting to European Tour events is difficult, let alone winning a match or winning 2 matches, winning 3 matches on that stage, winning your board in players' championships, even as a seed, or even making the board final as a seed, is becoming rarer and rarer because there's so many players who aren't in the seeds to take that off of you, to take an early match off of you. And therefore, it's the amount needed to qualify is a bit lower, but the amount of talent, the amount of skill, the amount of form keeps going up. Brendan Dolan is the second to last player into this field. He made a semifinal on Monday in the Players' Championship events. Steve Beaton was able to sneak his way back in, but he made a final at the back end of last year. He's qualified for half the Euro Tour events and has won at least a match at every single one of them. And even still, that just barely got him into the field. Mike de Decker, he in the end was a bit comfortable making his first final earlier this year, but he's been playing brilliantly, not just this year, but at the back end of last year. Still only just got him in. It's become so difficult to qualify for this event, and you have to be playing at a really high level for a significant amount of time. You could back your way in. I think Kim Huybrechts backed his way in. He's not playing as well the last couple months as he was earlier in the year. Stephen Bunting, similarly. But you can't back your way through 12 months. You have to put together 6, 7, 8 months where you're playing really well. And that's what these players have done. They've all had prolonged spells where they've been playing at a top 16 level, even if they're not right now. And there are players who had similar spells that didn't manage to qualify. Simon Whitlock was playing well at the end of last year, made a final first in a few years at the beginning of this year. He ended up falling short by £2,500. Luke Woodhouse just made his first finals, been one of the emergent players this year. He fell shy by nearly £5,000. It's just almost impossible to qualify for this event now. And as we said last week, in the end, we have 30 of the top 31 players in the world. Only 2 from outside the top 32 qualified, Mike de Decker and Steve Beaton. I think this is the best field because of just how good the players who didn't manage to qualify are and how well some of them are playing. It's only going to get tougher to qualify from here. I think the answer almost every year to this question will be yes, because the quality of darts keeps getting better. This might be the last time in years that we don't see Sean Van Veen in the field, and I'm sure he's not the only person who will be in next year and next 5 years after that who couldn't qualify this year because it's just that hard to qualify.
Yeah, Xian was a name I was going to mention as well for the answer to this question. But when you talk about the strongest Blackpool lineup ever, for me, I immediately think of one of the weekends that I've spent in Blackpool, an afternoon sat on the pier, terrace bar, listening to a band with acoustics singing some covers at Pirates Bay. You had Desperados on tap, which was pretty dangerous. But in terms of the darts lineup for Blackpool, this is the 30th World Matchplay. It is a tournament which is one of the most prestigious on the calendar. And for me, I'd put it in my 3 that I most look forward to each year alongside the World Cup and the UK Open. And what about the World Championship? Well, of course, I look forward to that. Dartsmas every Christmas, but 96 players, what is it now, 28 sessions? That's too much darts for me. And I know there's a lot of the event that I'm probably not going to watch because of work and other things going on around that year. But the match play, 9 days, 32 players, the 32 best players in the world. You might, as you touched on there, you might take a few of those out and replace them with other names who are in better form right now. You could make a case for Gian Van Veen. I'd put in Berry Van Peer as well. These 2 players are top of the development tour and challenge tours at the moment, but you might put them in the 32 best in the world on current form at the moment. But I think you're going to get that every year. I think you're going to get players who maybe hit form at the start of a calendar year, halfway through the qualification period to get into this World Match Play if you're one of the Pro Tour qualifiers. And in Berry's case, you might have a bad week at Q School and you have to build your form back up through other tours and getting into Pro Tour events as a top-up player, which makes it even more difficult to get into this tournament. So I think for me, the lineup, it's got to be the strongest because, as I mentioned, 19 of the 32 players knows what it takes to win a major in the PDC. And looking at the 13 that haven't done that yet, 6 of them have made finals, 3 of them have won majors in the BDO in the past. So other events, not as big a stature these days, but still pretty big events to win. And that leaves you with 4 players. And you mentioned one of them, Mike de Decker, probably the most unknown quantity in that 32. But if you followed the Pro Tour, you know that he's a dangerous player. And I think the more stage time he gets, we had him on the show last week, the more time he gets up on that stage, the more he's going to get adjusted to it. And could be this week that he gets that first breakthrough on TV and gets a scalp. But he's a player that's making some strides. You've got Josh Rock in there, a debutant in the field like Mike de Decker, but someone that we've seen make some huge strides in the last 18 months. And the other 2 players, Martin Schindler, similar to Mike De Decker, but with more TV experience behind him. We know what he can do, and Gabriel Clemens, the last of those players, a World Championship semi-finalist just 6 months ago. So a lot of quality in there, a lot of quality in those 19 winners. Some aren't coming into this event in the best of form. Fair to say, Peter Wright, the number 2 seed, being the prime example, not playing the best starts of his career, but he's one of many names in that field that you look at and go, he's got the quality, he's got the game to win this tournament. He's one of the former winners of this event. And for me, I think because of that, on paper, this is the strongest lineup we've got. The strength in depth in the PDC, we talk about it all the time, but this field that we've got for the match play, it's a testament to that. And yeah, I just can't wait to watch it and see how it all unfolds now.
And it's just a few days until it will start to unfold. Well, you mentioned that the world number 3 is not in the best form, but the world number 1, the world number 2, and the world number 4 pretty much are. And that's why Michael Smith, Michael Van Gerwen, and Gerwyn Price combined as of the time of recording are a Triforce as the 9-2 joint favorites with Betfred. But who would you say, or who would you make to be the favorite to win the title if you were the one setting the odds?
Yeah, it's a tough question, and it's one of our questions of the week on Twitter, so do go and have your say on there. And when I last checked a few hours ago before we started recording, Michael Van Gerwen, he is leading the way on the poll, 64%. Then you've got Gerwyn Price, 17%. Other is at 11%, and then you've got Michael Smith at 8%. And I'll read out a few of our listeners' responses as well, getting in touch. We appreciate that. Johnny Moore saying, was Humphreys until the Polish Masters, still has a damn good chance, but MVG looked unbeatable at the weekend. Rachel Gallagher saying that Wade's a contender for me. His performance at the Euro Tour was brilliant, and the longer leg format makes him very difficult to beat. Tom saying Jamie Robinson for me, and that's not my burner account before you ask, guys. And the last one from our listeners, Lewis, saying that he picked MVG, but he has a rough draw. Dolan, then Hetter or Rock. Oof. And starting with Michael Van Gerwen, we've got to mention the performances at the weekend. We had the World Series event going on in Poland, and I think because of how he performed at the weekend, it's no surprise really to see the poll going the way that it is at the moment, because we weren't sure how Michael was going to perform at the weekend. He had that disappointing tournament on the Euro Tour the previous week. We know that he's just come back from surgery, but a week on, and look what he's done. He's reeled off 98, 110, 104, 113 averages, and you put those 4 averages together in a tournament bracket. They're numbers that for a long time we were accustomed to seeing from Michael Van Gerwen. Those 110 pluses, particularly on TV, they're a bit more rarer, and he's had 3 already this year, 2 in the same day like we saw on Saturday, and that's after not having any last year or in 2021. And okay, 110 averages, they're pretty rare, as I say, but do you need a 110 average to win every game? No, I don't think the standard has got that high just yet, but I think when you see players doing that, reaching those extremely high levels, those extra gears, it will send out a message. It lays down a marker to say, this is how well I can perform. I can reach those extra gears. Can you do the same? And in this World Matchplay format, it's going to be tricky to reach those levels. It's a much longer format. Even the first round, 1st to 10, the final in Poland at the weekend was a race to 8. But I'm with Lewis on this one. I think MVG, although the form at the weekend suggests that he is going to be the favourite, he has got the tougher quarter for me of those 3 players, him, Michael Smith and Gerwyn Price. And okay, Brendan Dolan, first round, he's a tricky customer, but it would be a surprise if he was going to win that game. And you can't look past him. We can, because we're not playing the games, but you look at MVG's route after that game, his route to the semi-finals and the second weekend of the tournament. Damon Hetter or Josh Rock, 2 players that are playing very well. They've got wins behind them. And then it's looking likely it's going to be either Luke Humphreys or Dirk van Dijvenbode. Again, 2 players that have just contested a Euro Tour. Again, 1 titles this year. So because of that, I'm going to take out the form that MVG showed at the weekend. I'm leaning more towards the draw and who they're playing, and I think Gerwyn Price is the favourite. And taking out the World Cup, looking at singles majors in the PDC, he's had the longest time of the 3 since winning one of these majors. So it might be a little bit strange to say that Gerwyn Price is the favourite because of that. But I think for me, I would put him as a slight favourite, maybe as a 4-1, then Michael Smith and MVG. at a 9-2. So only a slight favourite, but I think because of the draw that they've got, they're all playing at a high level. We know that, but I think it's going to be MVG that's going to be tested more on that way to the semi-finals, and because of that, I'm going to lean towards Gerwyn Price as my favourite.
Yeah, I can't get past those three either, but I want to talk about some of the other players on this question. I agree that Gerwyn Price, although I'll say it for different reasons, should be the favorite here. I think right now he is the best player in the world. He's might not have won as much as he should have for how good he's been this year, and he doesn't seem to have brought that same level to big matches in major finals as he has in pretty much every other match this year. But I think his A game right now is better than Michael van Gerwen or Michael Smith's A game. He finds his A game more often than either Michael van Gerwen or Michael Smith find their A game. And his B game is at least on par, if not better, than either of those. It's just a question of timing that he sometimes has not been able to master this year, and that's why he didn't win the Premier League, even though he was the best player for 3/4 of those 4 months. He should be the favorite. In my mind, he's the favorite. That doesn't mean he's going to win it. That doesn't even mean he's going to get past Stephen Bunting in the very first round. He could be out come Saturday night. But he is and should be the favorite because I think he is the best player in this field right now. But I'm not even convinced that one of the big three is going to win this, because the gap, and even if we throw Johnny Clayton in and make it a big four, the gap between them and some of that chasing pack is really not all that wide. Dave Chisnall has already won 2 Euro Tours this year, won the last one of last year, made a Pro Tour final on Monday, made another Euro Tour final a little over a month ago. That's in the space of 10 months, 6 titles or runners-up in Pro Tour events, and more than half of those have been on the European Tour. That's a pretty good standard to be playing at. And I think right now he has a confidence that he's not had before. He's had a belief in his ability to close out matches, close out legs, close out against anyone that I don't think he had even when he was making those 7 major finals. I think Dave Chisnall, he might not be overall playing at a better level than he was 5, 6, 7 years ago when he was a Premier League regular, but he's playing with a confidence that I don't think he had back then. And that makes him scary. That makes him live to win his first major. Luke Humphries as well, obviously finally got over the line in a Euro Tour after losing 4 finals this year. He obviously had no trouble getting over the line last year in those. Also winning that Pro Tour over Dave Chisnall on Monday. Luke Humphries is playing more consistently than he's ever played before. I don't know if he's hit the heights that he did last year, although obviously that Euro Tour a little over a week ago now, where he was averaging well north of 105 for half of the weekend. Pretty good. I don't know who would scoff at a 105 average, but Luke Humphries is playing at the very least more consistently than he ever had, and also seems live to challenge for his first title, and first major title, that is. And Dirk van Dijvenbode as well in that conversation. Damon Hedda winning the Players' Championship event on Tuesday, continuously going deep in almost every event after a slow first couple months of the year. There's a lot of players in that second tier beyond those big 4, big 5 if you want to include Peter Wright, who have every chance and are playing so well. They're not the favorites. They shouldn't be the favorites, but their odds are all enticing for that reason, because they have almost as much chance as Gerwyn Price, Michael Smith, Michael van Gerwen to win this title. So they're not the favorites, but they're not that far off in my book.
Well, we're going to get on to our predictions in a moment, predict who we think is going to be lifting that Phil Taylor Trophy a week on Sunday. But before then, let's hear from one of the players that is going to be in the field for the World Matchplay, back in the tournament for the first time since 2018. Here's our chat with the 5-time champion of the world, a former World Matchplay finalist, Raymond van Barneveld. I'm delighted to say we're joined by the 5-time champion of the world, Raymond van Barneveld. Thanks for the time, Raymond. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm fine. In Scotland at the moment for an exhibition. Yesterday I landed in Edinburgh Airport, and tonight we do an exhibition in Stirling with Robert Thornton, John Henderson, Daryl Gurney. It was a great night last night, so tonight another night, and then I fly Sunday to Birmingham and take a taxi to Leicester for Monday and Tuesday Pro Tours.
Yeah, a busy time, and for our listeners, we're talking on this Saturday morning, so we appreciate you taking some time out, and we're just 1 week away now from the start of the World Matchplay. For the first time since 2018, you're going to be in the lineup, so how are you feeling ahead of that return to the Winter Gardens?
Yeah, I'm over the moon with it, only small steps, but last year it went fantastic with the qualifications of 9 out of 10 Euro Tours. One event I was lucky, I was on a reserve list for Risa, which I got to the second round. In Holland I was automatically qualified because of ranking, and I did pretty good. I think it's very hard to qualify for the World Matchplay if you're not playing a lot of Euro Tours. Mike de Decker did great, he did it all on the Pro Tours, but if you can combine that with doing well on the European Tour, yeah, it's getting even better. And I'm over the moon with qualification for the Matchplay, the European Championship. I think it's in October in Dortmund. I think I'm pretty much qualified for that as well, and also looking good for the World Grand Prix in Leicester later this year. So what can I say? There are small steps, I have to be honest. It's not like I'm going semis or finals all the time or quarters, but I'm getting more confidence, and it looks good at the moment.
Yeah, it definitely does. Things are going well on this comeback, if you like, for you after you took that break away from the game. And we had your former manager, Jacko, on as a guest of our podcast a few years ago, and he talked about that final year that you had and the decision to retire. You wanted to be a bit more relaxed, but it kind of had the opposite effect. You felt that the pressure to perform for everyone in that last year. So how challenging was that last year?
Well, the last year when I announced I'm going to do another year, and that's it. I was in a very difficult position. I was in divorcing my wife. I had private problems a lot, and I couldn't focus on the darts anymore. The traveling, the handle with defeats. I wasn't a nice man around me. Everyone knows me when I lose a match. Don't come near me because I want to be left alone. So, and that was happening more and more and more. And at that time, I was dropping out the top 32. So Jacko said to me, be aware that if you continue, you have to play a lot of Pro Tours again. And those tournaments don't suit you. It's early, you don't like it. I said, yeah, what can we do? Yeah. Maybe give up, So I was in a bit of a shock at the time. And I said, me giving up? Darts is my life, right? But at the time, it was maybe the right decision. It was getting too much for me, and I played, and I never won anything anymore. So, but then Corona came, and I had my farewell night at the AFAS Arena in Holland and Amsterdam on I think it was February the 8th in 2020 or 2019, I'm not sure. But then Corona came, and for months I stayed with Julia in London, who lived at the time in London still. Nothing to do, I was bored, and I'm thinking, is this it, no exhibitions because of Corona, they couldn't go ahead. And then in August, I remember this very well. I was in town with Julia in The Hague, and I met Iwe again, my former coach, and he's working for my sponsor, Ben de Kok of Benji. They're doing ship vessels and engines, and I turned to keep me all over the world. So and he said, "What you must do, Ray, you need to get your tour card back." I said, Iwe, don't get silly to me. I just gave up. I will be a laugh, And he said, yeah, so what? What are your options then? He said, you're in the middle of a divorce. You don't know how that goes. What can you do? You have no exhibitions. You have no sponsors anymore because you don't play darts anymore. I said, yeah, you have a really good point, right? So then I decided quick what to do, because it was September back then, and getting your tour card in January, because if you don't get your tour card, you do nothing for a whole year, right? Because you can't stream in the tournaments organized by the PDC, because you need a tour card. So we spoke to my manager, Ben de Kock, and sponsor, and he said, I'm going to give you a 3-year deal and show us what you can. Well, from that point of view, we practiced almost every single day, and got my tour card back in February. And after 3 tournaments, I won a Pro Tour. So it went well since. And then I had some health issue problems. I collapsed one day I think it was in where was it, Milton Keynes. So I had to recover from that, and that year went not so well. Last year I only qualified for 3 out of 13 Euro Tours, and this year 9 out of 10 so far. So the determination is back, the will to win is back. I love the game. I'm in good health at the moment. I have a fantastic life with my girlfriend Julia. We're gonna marry this year in Cyprus, so I'm a really happy guy at the moment. And I think if you can be really happy, you can do all and everything you can. As long as you believe in things, and that's what I do. Sometimes you don't need to play really well to still accomplish your targets. I always say to myself, my target is the World Championship. Another target is qualifying for the the Grand Slam. I did that 2 times on a row, because my head says to me, we're going to do this no matter what. And if you believe in things, you can accomplish a lot. And sometimes you don't even have to play really good A games. But you can do whatever you want if you put the effort and the power and the will in. Yeah.
I'm glad to hear you're in a good place now, and you covered a lot of those last few years. One of the things I wanted to talk about was being back in the World Championship. It's the biggest tournament in darts, and after your first game back in that tournament, you said it was a privilege to be back. So what was it like being back at Ali Pali, where you'd had that, what many thought was going to be the heartbreaking end to your career, but you were back there and on a high again?
Yeah, last year was good. I came top 32 against, but then if you're 32, you will meet the next round Gerwin Price, and Gerwin was played absolutely fantastic. And it was not my night. I didn't play my A game, and against players like that, top 4, top 8 in the world, you always know you need to play your A game. Otherwise, you can shake hands. The year before, it was a really strange year with people they're pulling out, because of the COVID. Michael Gerwin pulled out, Vincent van der Voort pulled out, Dave Chisnell pulled out. After my match against Rob Cross, I was leading 1-0, got beat 3-1. I didn't feel great myself. The next morning I had Corona. So it was a really difficult time. So that World Championship, I always will say that World Championship was never hold, the person who won. I think he was lucky that a lot of other players who got COVID, they were always competitors for the title as well. So, but last year, I was playing really well. Got semi-finals in the Grand Slam of Darts, beating Gerwin Price twice, and that felt good. Michael Smith won it last year, and he won the Worlds. He's an amazing player, and top,
You mentioned Gerwin Price beating him twice in the Grand Slam. I wanted to mention that as well, because it was a brilliant run from yourself last year. What did that run mean to you, being involved in the final day of a major again?
Yeah, well, what happens was, I played him first in the group in a best of 9. If you have a good night and you beat the world number 1 at the time, Gerwin Price, then you can say, well, fair play, it's a good game. Okay. But beating him in a best of 31 legs is something else. I'm pretty sure Gerwin must have thought, Ray is a bit of older in age, maybe not in his best fitness. he doesn't play many major tournaments anymore. So I will get him out. And and I think I played really good. I beat him 16. I don't know anymore, 16 something. But I think that was a shock and a warning for the rest of the world that I showed that I could still do this. Even against Michael Smith, the later winner, I had a good game. I think he beat me 16-12 or something. But I missed crucial darts to equal at 13 each. Instead of 13 each, it became 14-12. Yeah, then he started with a 180. That was me going. So I'm looking back really proud on the Grand Slam, which took me in the top 32 in the world, which was very good. Yeah.
Well, we spoke with someone else that you know very well, Jeffrey Desvan, a few months ago on the show. You practiced with him regularly. You mentioned your age there. He said you might now be playing better than ever. So just a word on Jeffrey, because we can see he's an immensely talented player. He got his tour card back this year after losing it. How much potential do you think he has?
He has so much potential, so much. I think he can be equal as Michael van Gerwen. His throw is so natural. Is so easy. He has the same abilities as Michael van Gerwen. Also on the 19s, his cover shot on the 19s is so good. Jeffrey needs to clear his head out. Maybe he's too much busy with working and stress. I don't know. So I see he's missing a lot of doubles, which is unnecessary. You know, if he believes in it, if he I always say to him, put goals. You know, you need to tell me what are your goals. You got your tour card back. What are your goals this year? And he never speaks about his goals. You know, speak up. You know, just say, okay, Ray, I want to go this year for my tour card back. Once I accomplish that, my goal is to play the World Championship after 3 years again. That's a goal, you know, and focus on your goal every single week. I do that still, even I almost play 40 years of darts right now. I still set up goals for myself, you know. I want to play this, I want to play that, I want to play the Grand Slam again this year, I want to play the Worlds. And step by step, you can accomplish these goals, but you need to set them up. Otherwise, you're playing for nothing, you know. You're just playing for prize money, and I don't think that can be the thing. Yeah, and look forward. But he has an amazing style, an amazing throw. But for the last 2 or 3 years, I'm seeing he's going down mentally, and maybe it's a good advice for him to find some help. You know, Jake van Duivenbode did with a mental coach. And for some people it can help. It never ever worked for me because to me, they can say whatever they want. These mental coaches, but at the end they can say, believe in yourself, do this, do that, but they never stop that your opponents keep on hitting 11, 12, 13 and 14 and 50 darters against you, right? So you need to handle it yourself. You have to stand up and believe in yourself, and when it goes bad, you work harder. You know, a month ago I was playing in Leicester 2 Pro Tours, and I got beat in both days, first round. So the next day, I went to my office. I went practicing in the afternoon. I went practicing in the evening for 2-3 days. Yeah, and then I go for the first time in Sindelfingen on a Euro Tour. I qualified for the Sunday again. It's all about focus. It's all about belief and work harder. If you're not good enough, work harder. Stand up, go back to the practice board and work harder. Make an effort out of it. And then you can live with yourself better because now it's getting even better. You know, I got to the quarterfinals for a long time. I got beat by Joe Cullen, but it was a good game. It's survival of the fittest in these Euro Tours. You play a Friday night game, you play a Saturday night game, and then on Sunday they expect you to play 4 games on the spin. You have to be in really good shape. You know, you have to get energy, and you see in the later matches that the averages are dropping because everyone is tired. So you need to stand up, go to the gym, and work better. That's what I'm going to do right now because I notice that with my age, 56, playing against these young kids like Joe Cullen and Luke Humphries, for instance, you know, they're going to defeat you easy because they have a longer stamina.
Definitely. Well, you touched on goals there. That brings us nicely on to our next question. We've got a few questions from our listeners before we let you go. And the first one comes from Richard. He says, what's the ultimate goal of Barney's comeback? Win another major, make the world's top 10, getting back into the World Cup team? I'd love to know what Ray's biggest ambition is that he's working towards.
That's a very good question. I won many TV tournaments. Of course, it's a dream to win another title one day. And far out the best is winning, of course, a World Championship title. If that still is going to happen, I don't know. I have to work harder. But I set a goal this year. I want to be in the top 16 of the Pro Tour Order of Merit, because the Pro Tour Order of Merit guarantees you in every 13 out of the Euro Tours, you know what I mean? So once if you're in the top 16 of that Euro Tour Order of Merit, that means that every Euro Tour you're qualified and you can jump in and stream in on the Saturday night. So you don't have to play qualifications anymore back in England, you know. So that's another day. It costs energy. You don't need to play on a Friday nights anymore. And as long as you in the top 16 of that Pro Tour Order of Merit, and you stay in that Pro Tour Order of Merit for the next year, then that means you're qualified for all these major tournaments, like the World Matchplay, like the Grand Prix, like the European Championship. And you see that it's so important because then your face is back on TV. So my goal is from now and the next year is try to get in that top 16. But you need to play really good darts, because now you still have to qualify, and every Saturday night, if you come through the first round, there is a top 16 player waiting on you, and that could be Michael van Gerwen, which I got twice. I got Gerwin Price once. I got Ryan Searle twice. I got Dimitri Vandenberg, and you know the same as me that you need to play your A game to beat these guys. So. For me, my goal the next season is aim for top 16 Pro Tour Order of Merit. And if you win your matches, say on a Saturday night, you go straight to £4,000 every single tournament. Say if you do that 7-8 times out of 13, well, you're looking at 30 grand then, 32 grand, which make your position in that top 16 even stronger. And the following year, you will be in the top 16 again. So that means that you don't need to qualify. And you're playing more on these big major tournaments.
That's a good goal to have. And CJ Baker has got two questions. What is your advice for young darts players, and what are your practice routines? And he says, sending lots of love to Raymond and his family.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, I always say to everyone, first make a step. If you can play a good game, try to think where you want to be from here in the next 3 to 5 years. If you want to hang out with your friends, you know, don't let me judge you. Do it, you know. But if you want to be a really good professional player, well, trust me, there is not much time left for you, because you need to cancel all your friends' birthdays or families or weddings or whatever, because you're in the plane or in the train or in the taxi or in your hotel room all the time. And you have to go for that. You can't go and playing the tour and thinking, okay, I will do this for 2 years. Maybe I could pick up some prize money and have a good living. No. Put your goals out, you know. Say from here, I want to be this, I want to be that, I want to qualify for this, I want to go for that. And set up goals every single time. And believe in yourself. Believe in what you do. And if you're a really good player, look at the likes of Josh Rock, Luke Humphreys. They are amazing. Look what Josh Rock did in one and a half year time. He puts himself on the number 1 position in the top 16 of the Pro Tour Order of Merit. I just said to you what that means. You know, he's in every TV tournament and every major, and no one wants to draw him. You know what I mean? And this guy is getting even better and better. So make your dreams come true. I was a postman. I was a carpenter. I was a postman. I was dreaming of a dart career. And when I was in the 80s and in the 90s, and everyone says, you have no balls, you know, when it's a tough moment, you will miss crucial doubles. And I did, but I learned from it, and I stand up like old Rocky, you know, like Rocky Balboa. He lost games, but he stand up and fight even harder the next morning. And you practice harder. That's what you do. because you want to be a professional dart player. All the players who are in the top 10 or in the top 20 in the world, they practice every single week. You can't say, I don't practice for a week or whatever, I'm not in the mood to go right now. This is your job. This is what you do. And trust me, if you be good at it, you can earn some good money and give your wife and family and a really good life. But yeah, you're in the plane, you're traveling every single week. That's the opposite.
Yeah, there's a lot of sacrifices there. And our last question that we've got from our listeners, we should give you a bit of background. We're big fans of Coach Stompe on this show, and George Dobson wants to know, is Coach Stompe your best friend?
No, I don't have best friends in darts. At the end, you must realise that we also are competitors and each other's opponents, right? So we hang out together, you know. Me and Co always fine, you know. We had some issues and we had some fun. That's happening with all and everyone. Sometimes you have issues with players. Sometimes you go along fine. Some players I always hang out with is Vincent van der Voort. He's an amazing guy. I always team up with Jeffrey de Swan. And some others you never have contact with. So friends in darts, yeah, I think there are friendships in darts like Michael van Gerwen and Vincent van der Voort. And if they're playing each other, they always find it hard to beat each other because they're friends. I don't want to be involved in that, you know. On the board, you're my enemy, and no matter if we go out good times or bad times, I don't care. At the moment, and that's something you have to feel inside you, you know. And then after the match, you can be friends again or hang out together. That's no problem. But friends in darts, I think it's a big word. I don't think there are many friendships in darts. People hang out with each other. I think Joe Cullen and Devin Peterson hang out good, you know. Yeah, I don't think there are a lot of friendship. You just see each other like you're going to your job, you know. Yeah. And with some people on your job, say if you got an office job, with some people, you hang out for a beer later, and with some others, you think, I must have thinking about it, you know, and then you leave them alone, and this is how this is in darts goes as well. Some people hang out, and some people don't.
That's fair enough. Well, Raymond, it's been a pleasure to chat to you. We appreciate you taking out some of your time this weekend to have a chat, and we wish you all the best with that World Matchplay return and what else is to come this year as well.
Okay, thank you very much. And for next time, if you want to have a chat, give me a text, and no problem.
Attention all dart enthusiasts, this is ZR, your host from In the Mud Sports, and I have an exciting announcement for you. Are you ready to take your darting experience to the next level? Introducing In the Mud Sports, the premier online darts league for amateurs like yourself. We're not your typical darts league, it's an experience like no other. It's where you can showcase your skills, make new friends, and have an absolute blast. We have a vibrant community where camaraderie is key and darts meets pure enjoyment. Whether you're a singles player or love the excitement of team events, In the Mud Sports has got you covered. We are perfect for amateurs who want to have fun and improve their game along the way. It is your time to shine. Don't miss out on this incredible opportunity to elevate your darting experience and join 80 plus players from all around the world. Together we'll create unforgettable moments on and off the oche. You can catch all updates about where we are going live next through Twitter and Instagram at In the Mud Sports. See you guys there.
Thanks again to Raymond for joining us. Now continuing our look ahead to the World Matchplay, and it wouldn't be a major tournament without both of us making our predictions for it as well. So it is prediction time. Who is going to be lifting the Phil Taylor Trophy at the World Matchplay a week on Sunday? And also going to give you a chance to make up for any predictions that might go wrong here. Give us a name, an unseeded player that you think is going to go far next week as well.
Well, don't know if you do you want to guess who I'm going to pick? You don't want to guess.
To win the title?
Yeah.
All right, you got to give me a clue here. Is it a seed or an unseeded player?
It is one of those two. It's a seed.
It's a seed. I'm going to go Luke Humphries as your prediction.
Well, we'll see in a second whether you're right, because I'm going to start by answering the other half of the question, the unseeded player that I'm tipping to have a good run here. And I think there's a few. You know, an unseeded Belgian on debut. When would they ever have a deep run? One of them only won the title in 2020, and Dimitri Vandenberg, Mike de Decker, unseeded on debut. Joe Cullen has had a bit of an inconsistent year. He's had some really good heights. He could absolutely go win this match 10-2, averaging 105. But it's a good draw, I think, for Mike de Decker. I don't think he's going to go much further. I don't think he gets past Gerwyn Price in the second round. But I think that's a good draw for him on debut to spring an upset. On the other end, Dimitri Van den Bergh is seeded this time, but he has a tough draw against Ross Smith. Ross Smith's God knows how many times he's averaged 105 and lost, but then also this year has been finding ways to win with 86 averages. So it's a tricky match. Dimitri obviously coming off of the final in Poland, playing some good darts, but Ross Smith is as well. That's a tricky tie for him. But for an unseeded player, I could see winning a couple matches, making it through maybe even to the quarterfinals. Why not go Andrew Gilding? I know you don't want me to go him because he's going against Peter Wright, but Gilding won the UK Open. He's won, what's that mean, 6 consecutive matches in majors, or 7 consecutive because he came in the third round. And he goes against a Peter Wright who is playing better right now, but I don't know if he's playing better than Andrew Gilding. And the winner of that gets either Ryan Searle or Raymond van Barneveld, another winnable match. So I'm going to tip Andrew Gilding as my unseeded player. I know it's not that fancy of a tip since he's won a major this year, but it fits the prompt of the question, and I do think Andrew Gilding has a very good chance to make the quarterfinals. As for who I have to lift the title, well, you are correct in that it's going to be a player who's never won a major before, but maybe it shouldn't be too much of a surprise of who I'm tipping since I've been upping him a lot this year, including just before you heard it from our first guest. And the person I've been upping and who I think is going to win the World Matchplay is Dave Chizzy Chisnell. I think this is Chizzy's week. Why do I think it's his week? Beyond the fact that he's won a pair of Euro Tours this year, beyond the fact that he's playing with confidence that I don't think he has before, I love the fact that he got the toughest possible draw in the first round. Drawing Gary Anderson, yes, he could be out on the first night. I could be wrong by the time that there's still 28 players left in this tournament. But the fact that he has such a tough first round match, the fact that he has to play a former champion on opening night here, I think is the best possible draw for him, because it means he's going to have to be sharp and he's going to be battle tested before he plays his second round against either a former champion or a former runner up in either Rob Cross or Daryl Gurney. That is such a tough former semifinalist in Daryl Gurney. That is such a tough little section of the draw that he is going to have to be playing well at the start. And if he's playing well at the start, I think he has the confidence that he's not had before and that belief to carry it through the tournament. He will be battle tested before he most likely plays Gerwyn Price in the quarterfinals on a Friday night. That is why I think this will be Dave Chisnell's week. It's been a long time coming for him. And I can understand why many people are now doubting or truly believe he will never win a major. But it wasn't that long ago that we were saying the same thing about Michael Smith. Michael Smith was on as a cat on his 9th and final life, entering the Grand Slam last year. Chizzy hasn't made that many finals in majors in the PDC, but if you include the BDO, well, he has. He's one away from that now with 7 total major finals. He's also made a couple on the World Series events. Hasn't crossed the line yet, but I think this is a different Dave Chisnell. I think this is a week where it is set up because of the tough draw for him to lift his game to heights and a consistency that we haven't seen from him on the televised stage before. I am going Dave Chisnell to finally win his first major. I don't care who he plays in the final. I don't care if he has to go against Gary Anderson, Rob Cross, Gerwyn Price, Michael Smith, and let's change it to James Wade so it's all former champions. And then in the final, either Peter Wright or Michael Van Gerwen. I don't care if he has to play former champions in every single match. This is his year. Dave Chisnell is your World Matchplay champion.
What a pick, and I think you've called that scenes if that was to happen a week on Sunday, Dave Chisnell winning his first major title. And yeah, I've got to say I'm glad that you went first on this question, by the way, because it was good to get your thoughts on how you see it playing out. And actually, one of those two picks we have gone pretty similar. You could probably guess which one it's going to be, but I've had a go myself at this.
Does not win it as well?
No, not quite. I've gone with Andrew Gilden as my unseeded player to go the furthest on that one, and I think I went through my draw earlier predicting who's going to win each game, and the quarter-final lineup, I've got 7 seeds making it through, and Andrew Gilden was the only unseeded player left, so that's got to be the answer to my question. But I think Goldfinger, he's going to beat 2 multi-time world champions. I think he's going to beat Peter Wright in the first round, and he's going to beat Raymond van Barneveld to make the last 8 in Blackpool. And out of interest, just having a look at Betfred's market, the title sponsors, they have got Andrew Gilden 125 to 1 to win this tournament. His odds for the UK Open were 200 to 1 before the tournament, so they have come in a little bit. So if you fancy a flutter, do gamble responsibly. But if Goldfinger does win, well, this was your last chance, because if he becomes a 2-time major champion, you're not going to see odds of 125 to 1 next to his name for a very long time. As to who is going to win this tournament, I'm not going to go with Andrew Gilden. I've gone through my draw bracket, as I said, and I'm going to stick my neck out on the line and make all of those predictions. So we'll find out next week how good they are. But I'm going to go top half of the draw: Michael Smith, Nathan Aspinall, Gerwyn Price, and your predicted winner, Dave Chisnall. Bottom half of the draw, as I said, Andrew Gilden's going to make it to the quarterfinals. He's going to play Johnny Clayton, and my other 2 players, Michael van Gerwen and Luke Humphreys. Semi-finals, I've got Aspinall getting the better of Smith. He's going to go up against Gerwyn Price, who's going to get the better of your predicted winner, Dave Chisnall. And then bottom half, back to that half of the draw, Johnny Clayton. He's going to beat my unseeded player to do well, Andrew Gilden. And we're going to see the upset, if you like, Luke Humphreys knocking out Michael van Gerwen in that last quarter-final to get through to the semis. The final, I'm going to go with, well, by that point, you have got 4 players that have never won the title before. And I'm going to go with Gerwyn Price against Luke Humphreys in that final. I did have down here Gerwyn Price to win the title, but as you've gone for a first-time winner, I think it's probably right that I do the same, or I should say a first-time major winner. As you've predicted that, I'm going to go the same as well. So I did have Price. I'm going to switch it. I'm going to go with Luke Humphreys to win that Phil Taylor Trophy next week.
Well. We both made our picks. So it's obviously now guaranteed to be a Steve Beaton versus Jose de Sousa final, I think, or something along those lines.
I'll take that.
I think at least one Sky Sports commentator would take that. Anyway, enough about the World Matchplay for now. We'll try to get a show out to you guys next week, maybe after the second round, mini episode to recap the first half of the tournament. And obviously after the tournament, we'll discuss Dave Chisnall's remarkable title. But let's look ahead to the one event on the calendar that I think everyone will agree is slightly more important than the World Matchplay. That's the World Championships. Ticket sale is going to start in a few weeks, but not just that. There's one other announcement, and that's that the World Championships for 2024 will be sponsored by Paddy Power. What was your reaction to that news?
This was news that I saw drop yesterday morning, Monday morning, so when we're recording. So not something that I've got to say was on my radar, if I'm being honest. And that's because you go back to the start of 2022, Kazoo was announced as the new title sponsor of the World Championship in a multi-year deal. Well, this deal has lasted just 1 year. The PDC World Championship, it is their flagship event. Kazoo took over from William Hill. They'd been the sponsor for 8 years, an online car retailer. So it's the first time that we've not had a gambling sponsor for the tournament since 2002, so more than 20 years. But the Kazoo era, it looks like we are moving away from the gambling sponsors that have backed a lot of the PDC's majors for the last 20, 25 years. It was seen as a very positive move. We've had My Diesel claim they took over the World Cup last month. We had a question from one of our listeners around that time saying, talking about Kazoo and their finances maybe not being in the best position because they were sponsoring the World Cup, and I think we both said we don't know too much about the situation, but we do know that the PDC are going to be proactive. They are going to seek out new sponsors, and this is one of the new ones that's taken over from Kazoo, and it is a gambling sponsor. And if I was to say I'm thrilled about it, that might be a strong word to use, but as much as we love the darts, we're passionate about it, and this game it doesn't quite stack up with other sports, does it? The individual sports like a tennis or a golf that can attract those big blue chip sponsors. Maybe one day darts will get there, but of course we'd love to see it happen one day. But in terms of getting a gambling sponsor back on board, I was looking at the reach that Paddy Power have got, and on Twitter 700,000 followers, Facebook 1.5 million likes. It's a huge audience that they've got, and fair to say not all of those people that have liked their Facebook page that follow them on Twitter are going to be into the darts. They're not going to know much about it. But for those 2 or 3 weeks during the World Championship, you've got to imagine their social media coverage is going to be plastered with things about the World Championship, about darts, which for me, that's got to be seen as a good thing. And that's not something that we could say about Kazoo, is it? Because based on their social media following, 42,000 Facebook likes, 25,000 followers on Twitter, that's quite a big improvement in that regard. So I know that's just one area of it. There's a lot that can be talked about in terms of, rightly or wrongly, if we should have gambling sponsors this involved in sport. But I think in terms of a marketing promotional side of things, Paddy Power, we've seen the announcement. As part of the announcement, they did the video with some of the players. They're going to come at it in their own unique way. They're going to have some fun with it. And I think we're going to see some entertaining content from it. We've seen Paddy Power. They've dipped their toe in the water a little bit with darts before. They sponsored the Champions League darts that was on the BBC for a couple of years, but taking over as title sponsor of the World Championship, that's a huge step into darts. And for me, I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with it. They've definitely got my attention from a social media PR marketing perspective and how they promote and get involved in this tournament, that's for sure.
Yeah, I don't know what to think about this because it's, as far as I'm concerned, it's really just they've announced a sponsor. The big part of it being Paddy Power is obviously now that they're going back to having gambling companies after the last couple of years that looked in the opposite direction. They were moving away from that with Kazoo as well as a couple others. And I would rather they didn't have gambling companies. I don't gamble on sports. I'm not opposed to people doing that, but I am to some extent opposed to having such unfettered advertising from those companies, because it is an addictive crux and it can destroy people. And associating and having and giving that outpost for them to advertise, I just seem to I don't like that. Granted, I would have the same thing if it was sponsored by an alcohol company. I mean, I do drink, but I have problems with advertising something that can destroy not just your life but somebody else's. And therefore, I don't necessarily, that's not even the right word, I don't like that they're the sponsor. But beyond that, that is what the PDC is doing. That not just the PDC, plenty of other sports entities. I mean, my favorite football club, Middlesbrough, had multiple different gambling companies as their shirt sponsor, and they're far from the only one. In fact, I can probably guess that more than half of the 92 clubs in the football league are, or at the very least have been, if not currently are, sponsored by either a gambling company or some country that doesn't respect human rights. So I'm not calling out the PDC for this. It's an overall problem in sport that I would rather see corrected. And I was happy that for a while the PDC were going in a different direction. But you can only go in that different direction if the finances are there, if there are enough companies willing to spend the money to sponsor your event. And it seems like the answer to that is that there's not. The companies that are willing to spend it are these gambling companies. And if that's the case, then what is the PDC going to do? Be different than every other company in the world? No, I wouldn't expect them to. So I'm not happy that it's another gambling company. And again, this is nothing about Paddy Power specifically. It's about any gambling company sponsoring it. So I'm not happy, but I understand it. It's rational business decision, and possibly the only rational business decision the PDC had. If there were other companies available that were willing to meet the PDC's needs, then maybe I would go differently. And obviously, we don't know. We don't know everyone who contacted the PDC. But being that, one, the PDC has been trying to move in a different direction, and two, that just didn't seem to work, my guess is that it was just Paddy Power and other gambling companies. So it is what it is.
Now move on to our second guest on this week's show, and it is with the Sky Sports pundit and commentator, a former champion of the world. Here's our chat with Mark Webster.
I'm joined today by the Sky Sports pundit and commentator and former Lakeside champion of the world, Mark Webster. Mark, how are you?
Yeah, very good, thank you. Long time since I spoke to you, really, so good to have a catch-up.
Now, you just got back from a weekend in Poland for the first Poland Darts Masters, the first ever World Series event held in Poland. And from what I saw, it looks like it has been quite a big success. It was mentioned the PDC will be going back there in 2024. As someone who was just there for the event, what was it like? Yeah,
it was really good. Obviously, the ticket shifted in just over 3 hours, 5,000 in the crowd. And I was probably windowed to have another session there in one of the afternoons. Obviously, you don't want to get ahead of yourself. But no, it was fantastic. It was good to have a different leg on the World Series, and already it's booked for next year. And it could be a long-standing thing now because it was so successful.
And it was an impressive weekend from Michael van Gerwen, who we could see he's not feeling at 100% after surgery. But wow, some of the numbers he was throwing, you couldn't tell that. 113 average in the final to win the title. We're running out of words for Michael now, but that performance under the circumstances was good, wasn't it?
It was incredible. I mean, I'd never write him off because I've made that mistake before. But I didn't think he'd produce them sort of standards. I thought he could maybe win the title. But it was like the days of old, especially with so much discomfort. So maybe it just, I don't know, maybe just channeled his focus, but he just got on with it, did a professional job, and great timing as well. With a week before the match play, he's been able to sit out Leicester as well, which is handy. And I think he's got a couple of days till he plays in the match play. So all bodes well for Van Gerwen at the minute.
Now, plenty to catch up with you on. We had you on pretty much this time last year, right before the World Matchplay, and we'll get on to that event in a bit later. But before, let's tie up some loose ends from the past 12 months. First of all, the checkout of the year for 2022. When we had you on, you were pretty confident your 170 in the exhibition would win our listeners' vote. Did you see who ended up winning?
I don't recall. No, I don't think it was me, though, was it?
It was, of course, Metsulovic's 161 at Ali Pali when MVG turned down the ball.
Yeah, I have get that. Yeah, that was impressive, to be fair. So I'll happily take second to that. But no, that was incredible to be. Just the commentary, and obviously for Mensah as well. It was obviously going through some turbulent, inconsistent times to pluck something like that. I was pleased for him. So yeah, I'll happily concede defeat to that one.
Well, we were going to say as well, your 170 was a contender. I don't know if you saw my 80 checkout. I had treble 10 surround ball. That was up there as well. But the 161 was the right choice. Or are you going to defend your 170 or maybe try and better it this year in an exhibition?
170 in an exhibition and a 161 on match point down to Van Gerwen is a worthy winner. And it was an incredible shot. I mean, I wasn't in the venue. It was my night off that night. I was watching in a pub with Rod Studd. So we were like, we couldn't really hear the commentary because it was just blanked out. But it was, it was a great shot. And it's just, I sometimes watch it back now just for the commentary really and the excitement in the crowd. It was quality.
Now, you're well established now in the Sky team as a commentator and as a pundit, but we've also seen you take on ever-expanding roles, including interviewing the players pre- and post-match, making the draw for the U.S. Darts Masters at Madison Square Garden in New York, coaching, refereeing darts challenges with the West Ham women's football team. Pretty much like a spider, your web is going all over the sport. Is there anything you can't do in this game?
I still think I've got a lot to learn when it comes to all the interviews and stuff. I still think I can sharpen up on that. But it's just something I've been asked to do. And I'll do it when I can. Obviously, the more strings on your bow sort of thing, and the more sort of versatile it can be. I enjoyed doing it. The West Ham one you mentioned, the ladies team, they were really good fun, and it was just on the back of I think that there'd been a World Cup qualifier or something like that, or a match between the two nations. So there was French players in the West Ham team and English players. It was good fun, but it's just good doing as well. Obviously, I interviewed at the UK Open and obviously the finals, and it was obviously, you don't expect that you're going to interview Andrew Gilding, but it was what it was. And it was nice to sort of witness someone get their moment that they've been patient for.
Yeah, we'll come back to Andrew Gilding as well. But one thing which Johnny Clayton says that you can't do, we had him on the show in April and he said that whenever you two go out for a coffee, you order the drinks, then sneak off to find a table, leaving him to pay. Can you address these rumours for us?
Yeah, that's a load of crap. I don't know if you can cut that out of those, but no, we've got a pretty good understanding when it comes to the old Costas and stuff. We generally me, him, and his friend Kendall, and we take it in turns, and we look on gobsmacked when Johnny puts 8 sugars in his coffee, and we're like, what's going on? But no, that's myth. I do put my hand in for my pocket for a coffee, and I'll get an apology from him when I see him at Blackpool this weekend.
Now, we should mention the World Cup, the first year with the new format, 40 teams, a group stage, pairs, not just in the first round, but every single match of the tournament. And both Alex and I think most of the audience loved watching the new format. How do you feel, though, the event went with the new changes? Obviously, great final with Wales winning it. But other than that, how did you find the change?
Yeah, I thought it was brilliant. It was good to see some new nations. Obviously, some of the new nations just struggling to get to grips with it, but that will come with time. I like the fact that the top 16 draw was only seeded 4, so it lent to games like Germany versus Poland. Obviously, we had the Netherlands versus Belgium. I like the fact that these teams aren't just getting a cushy path to the semi-quarters of. So I think that element was good. I thought it was a brilliant event. We've been asking for it for a while, and it didn't let us down. Obviously pleased that Wales won it as well. And I think it's there to stay now, possibly maybe an additional session. There's a lot of games to get through on the Friday. But no, I enjoyed it. I liked that doubles element. And it was, I thought it was brilliant. You're obviously concerned with just all doubles, whether it'll work or not, but I think it worked really well. Yeah,
it's a great event, early front runner for Tournament of the Year as well. And we also saw in that event as well, Abby Davies, your fellow Welsh broadcaster, involved with the Sky team, and she did what no one has been able to do before, and that's stop Dimitri van den Berg from stealing the microphone. Were you impressed by that?
Yeah. Well, I think I've said to her in the past, don't let him have it, because we start running over if you let him have the mic. But no, she's experienced in doing that. Yes, not in darts, but she does a lot of football reporting, and reporting is what she's really good at, what she wants to do. And it was good to have her with us, and she's back with us in Blackpool as well, so it's great. And obviously she's Dan Dawson's girlfriend as well, so they sort of bounce off each other. They'll help each other out. And great to have her. I've known Abby for a while, and it was long overdue that she came to work with us.
Now, speaking of your Sky colleagues, we saw you last December. You and Stuart Pike were in different accommodations for the World Championship, so we didn't get to see you guys bring back the Muswell Hillbillies on Twitter. Do you think you two, though, will be reunited at the Palace this winter?
No, we've got our separate ways now. He likes doing what he does at Christmas, and I like doing what I do. So we meet up and go for food and that, and we got a night off and stuff. But we had to get out of our accommodation this year because there was issues with the heating and hot water. So I went to a hotel and I quite enjoyed it, and he went somewhere else and quite enjoyed it. So thankfully, I'm rid of him. So just seeing him work, and we pop on the night out. But none of this. I said I was sharing in Blackpool this week with me, him, and Wayne Marble, but he behaves when Wayne's there.
Well, we look forward to seeing how that goes, and looking at how this year has gone so far. You mentioned it as well, Andrew Gilding, one of the biggest stories, winning the UK Open. You interviewed him on stage after. We could see he was in disbelief after beating MVG in the final. What did you make of his win, and how surprising it was?
Well, obviously it was a massive shock, wasn't it? But it happens at the UK Open. There's no sort of structure. There's no seeding path, so everybody can cluster together. I thought Michael Van Gerwen's very unlucky. not to win the final. He had some tough draws going through. He played some good stuff, and obviously he would never take a positive and being runner-up, but I think there was a lot of positives for him. He played some exceptional stuff. But for Andrew Fielding, it was the perfect storm, and from the quarterfinals onwards, he was ruthless. In the final, he got his chance and took his chance, and these opportunities don't come along that often for players like Andrew Fielding. So when you get that chance, you've got to take it, and he did it, and it's had a big knock-on for him as well. He's obviously qualified for the match play. He'll be in the Grand Slam, being a major champion, and he can obviously aim towards the top 16 now. But I thought it was a brilliant story, and credit to Andrew.
Well, at the other end, he, as you mentioned, beat Michael van Gerwen in that final. MVG's done absolutely nothing since the UK Open, just winning a Premier League title, 2 World Series, Euro Tour, nothing much since then. Going into Blackpool, the bookies therefore have him alongside the world number 1 Michael Smith and the world number 4 Gerwyn Price as a 3-way joint favorites. The bookies can't split them, but can you? Is there a clear favorite in your mind?
For me, at the minute, from what I've seen from Michael van Gerwen, you don't do things like that. If he'd have got through Poland with a bit of luck and a few mid-90 averages and rode his luck, a bit like in the US Darts Mass where he just wasn't pushed, but he was just dominated. So for me, I'd make him favourite over them two. Obviously, more than capable of winning the title. Price has been unreal this year. Michael Smith, I thought, has dealt with being world champion and world number 1, and everything comes with it really well. So rightly, them three are above the rest of the pack. But for me, Van Gerwen is an outstanding favourite. But we know it doesn't always go like that. And last year, I thought he played the tournament perfectly in a way. He just gradually got better every game. And then once he got to the final, he was just dug in deep and had too much for Gerwyn Price. And Gerwyn Price actually admits that Van Gerwen just knows how to play those big games. But it's up to Price to up it. He'll want to go one better. Michael Smith will want to add it, so it'll be fascinating. Then you've got all the rest of the players who'll be thinking, look, if we can just click together for a week, we can lift that title. So I think it's a great draw. I think the tournament always never lets you down because it's form players, 32 form players. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, we can't wait. And not just the World Matchplay, we've also got the Women's World Matchplay again, back for a second year. Bo Greaves, the favourite for the title. It's a strong field. You've got Lisa Ashton, Fallon Sherrick, Mikuru Suzuki. We've called them the Big Four in the past. A strong field. Rhiannon O'Sullivan flying the flag for Wales as well. How do you see that event playing out?
Yeah, I don't really. I think it'll either be Bo or Fallon that wins it, if I'm honest. Obviously, Mikuru's got better, which is good. So she's obviously in that bracket you mentioned. Lisa Ashton playing Fallon in the first round will be a good tie. But yeah, I can't look beyond Bo or Fallon winning. I mean, for Bo, it would. I'm not saying no one deserves to win it, but it'd be a massive sort of end to a 12 months where she just absolutely dominated the women's series, and she wins that. She goes into Worlds and the Grand Slam as well. She's going to the Grand Slam and the Worlds anyway. It'd be nice to go there with that title, and credit to her. She's been magnificent.
Now, no World Matchplay week would be complete without a Mark Webster nightclub appearance. We saw you as a guest at Trilogy in Blackpool. Alex wanted me to mention that he went there 4 years ago now for when it was home HQ on a Monday night after going to the darts as a fan. I can't, living in the US where drinks are absurdly expensive, I can't believe £1.50 would be 10 times that in the US. But what was it like last year, and how pleased are you to make the lineup again this year?
Yeah, it was good. It was. I mean, the only thing was I went on the night of the final and I had to go home, so I couldn't really. There was no alcohol beverages going down my neck, so I'm doing it the Tuesday this year, so I might not that I'm going to get silly, but I'd probably have a couple. It was good. It was a good laugh, and I enjoyed it. It was the guy who was very welcoming when we went round there. Obviously, he had a result as well because Emma Payton, who hosts the darts, she came along, so she got loads of attention as well. So that he had a bit of luck. The guy who runs the place, but no, it was good. I enjoyed it. It was a nice way to sort of end the match play, but obviously I couldn't really let my hair down too much because I had to go home. I drove home after it, but yeah, it should be fun. It was like I said, it's a decent club. It was a pretty big place, and we'll see what happens.
Good times. Well, hopefully you can have a few shandies this time. And aside from the nightclub appearances, you're still popular on the exhibition circuit as well. The media commitments that we've spoke about as well, they're keeping you busy. So do you have much time to practice these days? Do you think we could see you playing any Opens, any leagues, or even Q School in the future?
No, not at the minute. I mean, I don't play my local league. I haven't played my local league for 12 months now. If I'm being honest, I've probably practiced about 10 times this year. I don't currently have a dartboard in the house I live in, so that's not ideal. So, I probably need to do that, really. I'm trying to find a spot. I've just recently moved house. It's just had to take a bit of a back burner. And when on the odd time I play a bit patchy, so you just don't really get a bug. But, yeah, I'd like to go and play a little bit more, just practicing. I'd like to, at some point, try and play in the Modus League again this year. But it's finding time and see if I can find some time. But obviously I want to be competitive as well. So just weighing up at the minute, obviously the priority is just you do your job. My job at the minute is a commentator and a pundit. So I do have the odd game of darts, odd exhibition, but no sort of plans to do anything more with it at the minute. But we'll see. I'm still relatively young in darting sport, so I've still got time.
Just two more questions. We can't let you go without a prediction. So one name for each. Who will be lifting the Phil Taylor Trophy a week from Sunday, and who will win the Women's World Matchplay? And if you want to throw out a dark horse as well to hedge your bets, please do.
Yeah, Michael Van Gerwen, I think, will win the men's. I think Bo will win the ladies. I expect James Wade to do okay. I think Wade get to semi-finals. I know he's got Dobie, then potentially Michael Smith, and then there's Aspel and Noppert. But I've just seen something a little bit more in James the last sort of fortnight, so I wouldn't be gobsmacked if he had a little run there. And he's obviously won it before, and he's had some good memories there. Even he's been a final a few times, and it was where it all started. His first big win was at the Matchplay, so it's fond memories. So I expect James to have a good run in it. Tough section to draw, but one I think he can come through.
Well, we'll see how those picks go. And lastly, before we let you go, beyond Blackpool, lots more darts to come this year. We're getting towards the busy end of the season. So what are you most looking forward to for the rest of 2023?
Yeah, obviously, the majors. I really like the Grand Slam, the Grand Prix, obviously, the double start element. But I like the Grand Slam, the group phase, and just the different mix of players. And then before you know that, we're just rolling into Ali Pali then, aren't we? So everything just sort of culminates quickly. But it's the busy end of the year, and it's nice sitting back. You're seeing players in different pressures trying to qualify, some trying to keep their tour cards, some trying to get themselves on for the Worlds, for their TV debuts. I think we're going to. I think he's going to play some TV darts. I think if I read the criteria properly, so I'd be excited to see him. So I think it's going to be a good end to the year, and it always is, isn't it? Culminates in Ali Pali, and we'll be there before you know it.
Yes, it will. Just a few more months to go for that. Well, Mark, thank you so much. I hope you have a great time in Blackpool. I'm sure we'll have you on the show again soon.
Yeah, no worries. Cheers. Thanks, guys.
Thanks again to Mark for joining us, and we'll finish up the show. We've got some listener questions before we go. The first of them comes from DeWitt, who says, who do you guys currently rate as the number one referee?
That's a tough question. I'm going to have to go Kirk Bevins. It's the easy answer, but I think it's the correct one. I'm sure he's made a mistake, but I can't remember one. I think he's just smooth and flawless. And I don't mean that in a negative way towards the others. Mistakes do happen. But Kirk Bevins almost never makes them. I've been really impressed with Hugh Ware over the last year and a half as he's gotten more opportunities. I mean, full disclosure, he's a friend of mine, so I don't want to just up him without making that disclosure. But I've been really impressed with how he is improved, and his stage presence has improved so much. And I think he is getting into that same tier as Kirk Bevins, as the other referees. Not that he was that far off a couple years ago, but just from getting more experience, he's lifted his presence and his accuracy and enunciation were always really good. But he's lifted his stage presence to the same level as the others, and that's, I think, part of why he was a Premier League regular this year, and we're seeing him become a regular in the other televised events. But I think the class is still Kirk Bevins. I think the PDC have a very, very good core overall. I think, we'll see how Charlie Korstefin develops. I've been impressed with him as well as he's starting to get some opportunities on the Euro Tour. We've seen him at the UK Open. I think we'll, in the next few years, start to see him even more like we saw with Hugh Ware over the past few years. But to answer the question, I'm going to go, since it's number one, I think it is Kirk Bevins.
Yeah, it's a good choice and good question as well, because I don't think it's something that we've spoken too much about in the 300 plus episodes that we've done over the years on this show. And we talk a lot about the players, about the tournaments, about the organisations, but hardly ever about the referees. Now, I guess it's a little bit like other sports. You look at football sometimes and you say that a good referee will go unnoticed. They won't cause any controversy or anything like that. And okay, darts, there's not a lot of examples of referees being involved in controversy, but when you're watching a game of darts and you don't see any mistakes, that the referees kind of do go unnoticed, and it's a sign of a good referee when they're not making any mistakes on the call-in. They're letting the games flow. And yeah, well, I think in darts we've got a lot of great referees involved in the game at the moment. And first of all, I've got to give a shout out to Owen Binks, because okay, most important of all, he's a fellow Colchester fan like I am. There's not many of them around, but you look at what he's been able to achieve in the game, and okay, he's not calling all the scores on the PDC stages. He's more often a marker, but on the modus side of things, he is a caller on there, so he's doing well for himself. And as far as the top referees, if you like, on stage, Hugh Ware, that was someone that I was going to give a mention to, and it's been good to see him get more and more gigs with the PDC, whether that's refereeing on the Euro Tour, in some of the TV events, the Premier League nights. We've seen him quite regularly on those as well. And you think back to when he first got involved in the refereeing side of things back in the BDO. I remember watching him back then at Lakeside to see where he's got to over the years. Again, it's been good to see that progress. For me, I think the number one referee, I'm going to go with a legend for me. I'm going to go with George Noble. I think he's still very high on that list. So experienced. Very rarely do you see him make an error. And that's like with pretty much all the referees at that high level. You very rarely see them make any mistakes. But for me, I think George Noble, I can't even remember the last time I saw him get a score wrong. He's the best for me. But I've got to say, I'm pretty cheap to change my opinion. So if any referee wants to address the crowd mid-game, bring back that popular saying that we had from Rab Butler back at Lakeside, if you want to boo, go in the car park, then you are going to go instantly to number one. So there's your challenge to all the referees out there.
Well, always good to issue a challenge. Now we'll have one more listener question. This one comes from Jack, aka Genius Darts. If you were limited to calling only 4 tournaments majors, no major majors and minor majors and mid-major majors or whatever else there is, just 4 tournaments that can be called majors, what would they be?
Yeah, the major debate is back. Thanks again for the question, Jack. And Jack also sent in his 4 choices as well. And I think me and him are on the same wavelength for this. He had down the World Championship, the World Matchplay, the World Grand Prix, and the UK Open. And I'm in agreement. I think it is those 4 if I had to pick 4. They are the 4 longest running active majors in the PDC, the Worlds, the Matchplay. Those 2 speak for themselves. They're the Matchplay coming up. That's going to be the 30th. They've both been running for 30 years apiece now. The Grand Prix, such a unique format with that double start. That's been going for 20 plus years now. It's been a staple on the calendar for a very long time. The UK Open, the FA Cup of Darts, again, it's got a lot of history behind it. Again, it's that unique factor where you've got the random draw after each round, but also nowadays you've also got every tour card holder gets that automatic entry into it. So it's a huge field of players, plus the other players that are involved in it as well. So yeah, if I had to pick 4, it is going to be the World Championship, the Matchplay, the Grand Prix, and the UK Open. And got to say, there's some events there that have missed out, which are unlucky too. You've got the Torremolinos Open. You've got the Viking Cup, an event where I threw a 140 and averaged 47 in my one game that I played. And you've also got the PDC World Cup of Darts for obvious reasons. And I'm sure, Burton, you're going to mention some tournaments that Mark Walsh won that deserve to have major status behind them as well.
I hadn't even thought to do that. I'm slacking in my old age. So sure, we'll go with the cricket darts championship, whatever it was called, where Mark Walsh made the finals. That was held in the U.S. That has to be a major, doesn't it? But no, seriously, I want to be different. Part of me wants to throw the European Championship into it because it is a different event. It is the championship of the greatest tour in sports, the European Tour, and it's the only ranking televised event that's not held in the UK, at least now that the World Grand Prix has moved from Ireland. We obviously heard that the PDC still wants to bring it back. Matt Porter said that when we had him on the show a few months ago, or I guess more than a few months ago now. But as things currently stand, it's the only ranking major that isn't in the UK. But I think, because of history and uniqueness of the World Grand Prix and the UK Open, I think they have something that the European Championship doesn't. The European Championship is just another weekend event that's leg play, and that even the final is just best out of 11. How's that any different from the other tournaments? How's that even different than the UK Open, which at least has that added blind draw feeling? Opened all the tour card holders qualify by right to it. Opened to players from the Challenge Tour, the Development Tour, and 16 Riley's qualifiers. I think that gives it something that the European Championship doesn't. I would love to see the Dutch Open become a PDC event. I think it's an event that the PDC could do wonderful things with. I know I've said that before on this show. And if the Dutch Open ever did get taken over by the PDC and staged, and I think there's that opportunity to do it after Q School early in the year, instead of a Players' Championship weekend, have the Dutch Open with all the tour card holders, but also open to anyone else who wants to enter. I think that would become, in my mind, a major, because that's a true Open in every sense of the word. But it's obviously not at the same level as the other PDC events. So as things currently stand, I agree with both of you. I think it is those four: World Championships, World Matchplay, UK Open, and World Grand Prix. But I would love for one day to say it's not the UK Open, it's the Dutch Open, because I think that event has such potential under PDC management. Anything else for this week?
Would you please welcome from the Netherlands, the winner of a PDC ranking event, a World Series Finals runner-up, taking part in his 5th UK Open. Ladies and gentlemen, the Freeze, Danny Noppert!
I'm joined today by the former UK Open champion and Lakeside World finalist, Danny Noppert. Danny, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm playing better the last 2 weeks, so I'm better in my confidence now at the moment.
Yes, that's come through watching you play. Of course, if we go back a year ago, you played in the World Matchplay. You're back now for the 5th year in a row. How are you feeling ahead of playing in the Winter Gardens this weekend?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to play there, of course. Last year had a good performance over there. I reached the semi-final, so it was a great week over there. And Blackpool, of course, is a nice city to play.
Yeah, you mentioned that semi-final, your best performance so far in Blackpool. This week you're playing Sunday against Martin Schindler in the first round. Do you have any thoughts on the draw?
Every game, every opponent will be hard, of course, because all good players over there. But Schindler, he's a good guy. I like him. He's a nice guy. We're always like friends with each other. But Sunday, of course, no, we are not friends on the stage. But I'm looking forward to play against him.
Well, we're looking forward to that match. Now, as I said before we started, this is the first time we've had you on the show. So we have some questions about how you got into darts. How did you first discover the sport, and tell us about your start in darts?
I was 19, and the brother of the friend of my brother play in a local pub competition. Like it's every Tuesday evening we play, and there was one guy left that team, and they say, "Is it maybe something for you to play with us?" And I was thinking, yeah, why not? And give it a chance. And I played in a team, and I couldn't count and everything, and they helped me with everything. And in a few months after, I was one of the best in the team. And from that, I was playing tournaments, local tournaments, and and of course I didn't win all the games, and that was not always easy. But I was keep trying, and and look where I'm now.
Yeah, then obviously you said you started playing at 19, so that would have meant it was just a few years later when you had your first deep run in a major, 2013 quarterfinals of the World Masters. But it was a few years later, I think 2016, that was your breakthrough. 4 titles in the BDO, qualified for the Grand Slam. How much confidence did you take out of 2016?
Really much, of course. Indeed, 2013 was my first television, and direct I reached the quarterfinal, and then how can I say it? I was from the beginning I was already quick confident, because I played the Scottish Open. Can't remember what year it was, but that was also my first international rank tournament, and I won. So I was it was quickly good, and and 2016, what was that tournament you mean?
That year you won 4 titles that year, also qualified for the Grand Slam. I think you made the Dutch Open final that year.
Yeah. It was also a really good year indeed. At Dutch Open against Martin Adams it was on stage, also for big crowd. So I play a lot of tournaments, and that made my confidence better, of course. That's what you need. Play a lot of tournaments, and then you go better. I'm not practicing a lot, but I play a lot of tournaments, and that gives me the power.
And of course, for a lot of fans, the first time they would have seen you was at the end of 2016, that Grand Slam. Made it to the last 16 against Gary Anderson. Then, of course, at Lakeside, making it all the way to the World Finals, losing out both to Anderson and then Durant at the Lakeside. Did you take a lot of positives from that, or did the defeat of losing a World Final sting more than the positives?
Yeah, of course, like the Grand Slam, it was my first time to play a tournament for the PDC, of course. And it was, really nice. And I was in a group with also with Raymond van Barneveld, DeWitt, and Espinel, I can remember. And I was through the group, and it was, my standard was that time also around the 100 mark. And it was, really special for myself. Because if you're confident on stage, that's nice, and like the Lakeside was also really special week for me. It was really nice, and I'm really happy to play over there.
Well, you mentioned the Grand Slam was your first taste of the PDC, but a year after your Lakeside final, you made the switch, and in your first year, you won a Pro Tour title, qualified for the World Championships. Were you surprised at how quickly you won a title, or well, tell us about that first year.
Yeah, I was not. Yeah, first year I was thinking. I want to focus on the top 64, of course, and what we say. I played before the BDO, so I know how to play tournaments and like to play good opponents. But it was. I always believe in myself, and that gives me the power, of course, and like to win a Pro Tour, I was not thinking about it. I was thinking about to reach the top 64. So and now I won already 3 Pro Tours, so that's really nice.
That's true. You won one last year, one this year, but you've also won something a little bit bigger than a Pro Tour. Must have been a special moment last year when you won your first PDC major in the UK Open. It's such an unpredictable tournament with the random draw after each round. So when did you start to believe that weekend that you could win it? I'm never think about win the tournament. I always see game by game, but from the beginning I was good. My finishing was good, and there was some close games. But at the end of the day, it's a long day, the final day. But that was You can see that as well in the final. I didn't play my good game, and Michael Smith as well. He didn't play really good, but my finishing was good, and the last leg, of course, that was the best leg in the whole match for me, and that was the most important leg. Indeed, and as I think everyone would say, that was a very nervy, tired final. But as you said in that last leg, you threw your best leg. What was going through your head when it was 10-10 throughout that leg?
Not really much. I was only focused. Like of course, win. You want to win, and that's in your head. But I want to stay calm, and that's what I was thinking. And you do your best, and better than that it's not possible. So go for it, and that's what was I thinking.
Well, it wasn't your only deep run on television last year. We mentioned earlier the semifinals of the match play, but also quarterfinals of the European Championships, quarterfinals back in Minehead for the Players' Championship final. A lot of fans talk about the Premier League lineup. Was it something you were thinking about, given you'd won the UK Open during the first few months of the year? Or, did you put the Premier League out of your mind?
No, I didn't put it out of my mind, but I had a little hope for to get an invite, but like now is also really busy with all the tournaments, like the World Series and everything. It's a lot of traveling, so I have a little bit more time with the family now. But I want to reach it once in my life to play Premier League. But I was a little bit disappointed that I was not in, but it's like now it's also busy.
Did the PDC talk to you at all about the Premier League, explain the decision, or they just never contact?
It was never contact, no. But I'm happy that I'm now playing the World Series. Of course, I was in Poland, and in August I go to Australia and New Zealand, and it's also really special for me to get that invite, and that's why I play darts. I want to play I want to play all the tournaments, so I hope in the future indeed the Premier League or something.
Well, you mentioned the World Series just played in Poland. You also played in the World Cup alongside Dirk van Dijvenbode, edged out in a thrilling match against Belgium. What did you make of the new format with one long best out of 15 pairs game? Do you prefer the new format or the old format?
I like this format. So for the crowd or watching, it's also more atmosphere on the stage from the players. It's more I like it. I like the format, and normally was Dirk play a single, I was behind the stage, and I like that. And now it's more like a team playing, and that's what I like. And we lose that game, but it's something new to play a long game of pairs. But it's nice to see.
So, I mean, right now at the top of the rankings, Dutch Darts has you, Michael van Gerwen, Dirk van Dijvenbode. But it seems like it's not going to slow down anytime soon. Remarkable start to his career from Gian van Veen. We've also seen Barry Van Peer and Jeffrey de Zwaan seem like their careers are back going in the right direction. What is the dart scene like back in the Netherlands right now? Are there more players that we should look out for?
I'm not sure, but the Gian van Veen is a really talented guy. I see him a lot of 100 averages and stuff like that. And Barry Van Peer is now he lost his tool card last year, but he's now really good playing at the moment. But for the rest, I don't know all the Dutch players, but I think they are the future for the young dart players. They are the future for the Netherlands, of course. And I'm not that old. I'm also just 32, so I have a long time to go. But I don't know the young players.
Yeah, and that's a good point. Even you, Michael van Gerwen, Dirk van Dijvenbode are still young, so a lot of time for all the top Dutch players. Now back to the World Matchplay. You did win another title. It was an award we gave out by our listeners for the blind 180 of the year, your blind 180 at the World Matchplay. Do you think you have the confidence to try something like that on the stage again this year?
Well, why not? But that was a funny moment. I saw him he was on. He didn't go for the 180 or something, but sometimes when there's something in my head, then I do it. So I'm not thinking before a match I will do a blind 180 or something. But I'm confident on stage. I'm more sharing the if I throw 180 or a good finish, I'm feeling better at the moment. So maybe something special.
Yeah, it was. And then lastly, we've obviously achieved a lot. You've won a major. You're in the top 8 of the world. Now playing in the World Series events, as you mentioned. What's the next goal? What's the next thing you'd like to achieve in darts?
My next goal is play a little bit better and more finals, more semifinals. I need to be a little bit steadier, and my goal is to win another major, and But there are a lot of good players, but I believe in it. I can do that. But then I need to play a little bit better than I'm doing. But why not?
Why not, indeed. Well, Danny, thank you, and best of luck this week in Blackpool.
Okay. Hey, thank you. Thank you very much.
A few things, as always, we've got to say a big thank you to our guests for joining us, to Raymond, to Mark. Good luck to Raymond and all 32 players that are going to be in the World Matchplay. Thanks to our sponsor, Dartwolf. If you want more Dynamite Darts content, head on over to dartwolf.tv. Give Dartwolf a follow on Twitter as well, @Dartwolf. 180. Big thank you to everyone for listening as well. As you mentioned, we're hopefully going to be back next week with a mid-match play episode. We'll also be doing a little preview for the Women's World Matchplay. We've not forgotten about that tournament, so we'll be doing our preview for that next week as well, looking back on the first couple of rounds of the World Matchplay as well, with possibly one or two guests as well. So do keep an eye out for that. But before then, if you've got to the end of the show, the time that we've got before the World Matchplay is dropped by about an hour or so. So the countdown's on. Make sure that when we get to Saturday, sit back, enjoy the World Matchplay, and to put it more simply, enjoy the darts.
I thought for a second there you weren't going to say it. Thought you were going to say everything else but it. But I should have known better. I should have known. But no, I love the World Matchplay. It's the World Championships is something special, but the World Matchplay being in summer, there's nothing like it. It's my favorite week of the year outside the World Championships, and I'm just going to be hanging tight and enjoying the darts at the same time, as well everyone else should. So, as I said earlier, hopefully we'll be back maybe after the close of play on Wednesday to have a recap of the first half of the tournament, preview the quarterfinals, see how our tips are going. We know that Dave Chisnell will still be in the tournament because he's going to win it all. But until then, hang tight, enjoy the darts, do everything you need to do. It is finally Blackpool time. It is finally the World Matchplay.